Hello there.
The room is quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It's the kind of quiet where you can hear everything: the faint hum of a fan spinning above you, the soft buzz of your phone lighting up for notifications that don't really matter, the almost silence that somehow feels louder than noise. You're lying there, staring at the ceiling, tracing invisible patterns with your eyes like they might eventually form an answer. Outside, the world keeps moving. Cars pass by. People laugh somewhere far enough that it feels like another universe. And yet, inside this moment, everything feels paused, like you've been left behind in between something that was and something that never quite became. You replay things in your head, not because you want to, but because your mind doesn't know where else to go. Small details resurface: the way they said your name, the pauses in conversations that felt like they meant something, the almost confessions that never fully arrived. It's strange how something that never officially existed can still leave behind something that feels so real. There's no clear ending to hold on to. No dramatic goodbye. No closure wrapped neatly in words. Just fragments. Just maybes. Just the quiet echo of something that felt like it could have been more. If only the timing was different. If only someone had been a little braver. If only things had aligned in a slightly different way. And somehow, that almost lingers longer than anything that ever fully began. Maybe that's what makes an almost so difficult to carry. It never gives you something solid to hold, but it never fully lets you go either. It exists in this strange, in-between space. Like a song that stops right before the chorus, leaving your mind to hum the rest. Or like standing at a train platform, watching the doors close just as you reach out your hand. Not late enough to forget it, but not early enough to catch it. It lingers in that fragile place where possibility still feels alive, even when reality has already moved on. Psychologically, we are wired to seek completion. Our minds crave endings, clear answers, something we can neatly file away and say, "This is what happened." But an almost doesn't give you that. It leaves open loops, unfinished sentences, unanswered questions, emotions with nowhere to land. And because of that, your mind keeps returning to it, trying to finish a story that was never fully written. You start wondering, what if I had said something different? What if they felt the same way and just never showed it? What if timing wasn't so cruel? And the thing is, those questions don't have real answers. They just echo. But here's the quiet truth most people don't say out loud. It's completely normal to feel this way. Because even if it was never official, it was still felt star. And feelings don't wait for labels to become real. They don't ask for permission to matter. If you cared, even a little, then of course it left something behind. An almost can hurt just as much as a real ending, sometimes even more. Because instead of grieving what was, you're grieving what could have been star. And that kind of loss is harder to explain. Harder to justify. Harder to let go of. So if it feels heavy, if it keeps coming back in quiet moments like this, it doesn't mean you're weak or overthinking. It just means something in you recognized a possibility that mattered. I remember one evening that felt like it meant more than it probably should have. It was nothing extraordinary on the surface. Just a small cafe tucked between two quiet streets, the kind of place where the lights are a little too warm and the music hums softly in the background, like it doesn't want to interrupt anything important. I got there a few minutes early, sitting by the window, watching people pass by as if they all knew exactly where they were going. When you walked in, I noticed it immediately. Not in a dramatic way, just a quiet shift. Like the room rearranged itself slightly to make space for you. You smiled when you saw me, and I remember thinking how easy it felt. Not exciting in a loud, overwhelming way, but comfortable. Like something familiar I couldn't quite place. We talked about simple things at first. Work, random stories, things that didn't really matter. But somehow, in between the pauses, there were moments that felt heavier than the words themselves. Like when you asked me a question and held eye contact just a second longer than usual. Or when we both laughed at something small, and it lingered a little too long. I remember noticing details I shouldn't have paid attention to. The way your fingers traced the edge of your cup, the slight hesitation before you said certain things, like there were thoughts you almost let out but decided to keep. And I think that's when it started, that quiet feeling that something was forming, even if neither of us said it out loud. When we left, the air outside was cooler. The street was quieter now, the city settling into itself. We stood there for a moment, neither of us rushing to say goodbye. There was a pause, one of those pauses that feels like a question. And I remember thinking, this is it. This is where something either begins or disappears. But nothing happened. No confession. No step forward. Just a small smile, a soft see you, and the kind of goodbye that felt unfinished. I walked away with this strange mix of warmth and confusion, like I had just experienced something meaningful, but couldn't prove it. And for days after that, I kept replaying it, not because it was perfect, but because it felt like it almost was. For a long time, I thought the hardest part was not knowing. Not knowing what you felt. Not knowing what would have happened if I had stayed a little longer, said a little more, been a little braver. I kept treating that moment like a locked door, as if there was something important behind it that I just failed to open. But over time, something shifted. Not all at once, not in a clean, dramatic way. Just small realizations, slowly finding their place in the quiet. I started to see that maybe the weight of an almost doesn't come from the other person as much as it comes from the version of life we built around them. The imagined conversations. The future that felt possible. The story we continued writing in our heads long after reality had stopped contributing. And maybe that version of the story was never meant to be completed. Not because it wasn't meaningful, but because its meaning wasn't in becoming something more. It was in what it revealed while it was here. The way it made you feel seen, even briefly. The way it reminded you that your heart is still capable of recognizing connection, even in its quietest form. There's a kind of softness in accepting that not everything is supposed to turn into something permanent. Some people enter your life just long enough to shift something inside you, to show you a glimpse of what you're capable of feeling, without staying to define it. And maybe that's where peace begins, not in finally getting answers, but in slowly letting go of the need for them. Because closure doesn't always arrive in words or clear endings. Sometimes it arrives quietly. In the moment you stop asking what if and start allowing the memory to exist without needing to change it. Not as something unfinished, but as something complete in its own, fleeting way. And maybe, in the end, that's all we were ever meant to do with an almost. Not solve it, not rewrite it, but simply carry it more gently. Because some memories aren't meant to be tied up neatly. They don't need a final sentence or a clear definition to prove that they mattered. They exist the way certain songs do, brief, unfinished, but somehow still enough to stay with you long after they faded. There's a quiet kind of beauty in that. In knowing that even if it didn't become something lasting, it still touched you. It still softened something inside you. It still reminded you that your heart can recognize warmth, even in moments that don't stay. And maybe the goal was never to turn that almost into something real, but to let it be what it was, a passing moment that held more meaning than it promised. So if it still crosses your mind sometimes, in those quiet hours when everything slows down, that's okay. You don't have to push it away. You don't have to turn it into something bigger or smaller than it was. You can just let it exist. Like a memory you don't need to fix. Like a feeling you don't need to explain. Like a story that was never meant to have an ending, only a moment. And maybe that's enough. Or maybe it always was.
Thank you for listening, and see you in the next story.